What if I told you that there is a small group of people out there who can almost predict how the world will change over the next 10 years by simply looking at where it is right now? Now these people aren't fortune tellers or psychics. Instead, they have something much more valuable, a very specific mindset. And this mindset has allowed them to make billions of dollars from investments before most people even realized what was happening. In fact, just think about this. Between 2010 and 2020, technology stocks like Apple, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft have grown by a staggering 750%. That means anyone who put $100 into those companies 10 years ago would have made nearly $900 with absolutely no skill or knowledge required. But here's the thing, regular people don't make these types of returns because they don't have access to the same information as these few select investors. So in today's video, I'm gonna show you exactly what the mindset of these people is so that you can start thinking like them and start making decisions that get you closer to your financial goals. Now the first thing you need to understand about the mindset of these people is that they are always prepared. Now we live in a world where most people are constantly reacting to the news cycle. And when you're a reactor, you're essentially letting other people dictate your life. These people instead are always proactive. And the best way to illustrate this is through the story of Ray Dalio. Now you might know him as the founder of the world's largest hedge fund, but he built his career by following this one simple rule. If you want to know where the world will be in 10 years, look at where the smartest people are investing their money today. You see, in 1946, an economist named John Maynard Keynes said, "The time is not yet ripe to cut down the leading strands of the capitalist system. But it will become ripe in our lifetime." And shortly after that statement, Ray Dalio noticed that some of the biggest banks were taking massive risks with clients' money. And that piqued his interest in finance. He then went on to work at the biggest names in the industry, absorbing all of their knowledge before starting his own hedge fund called Bridgewater Associates. And today, his firm manages $150 billion because he saw a trend that nobody else did. This brings us to the second point, which is that these people are constantly looking for trends. You see, the truth is that every single industry goes through multiple cycles over the course of its lifetime. For example, everyone knows that the internet changed the world forever. But what most people don't realize is that the internet had 3 separate waves of growth. The first wave was search engines like Yahoo and Ask Jeeves, which dominated from 1996 to 2003. Then the second wave was social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, which took off around 2006 and peaked by 2012. And now the third wave is mobile apps and e-commerce websites like Amazon and Netflix, which grew exponentially after 2015. Each of these waves created massive opportunities for early investors. And if you didn't know which wave would bring the biggest returns, you could simply follow the money. For instance, when smartphones started getting popular, almost every major tech company started creating mobile apps. And that tells you everything you need to know about where the future was heading. Similarly, if you wanted to invest in the next social media platform, you only had to look at where teenagers were spending their time. And that's exactly what Peter Thiel did. His firm saw the decline of Facebook before it happened, and bet against the stock, generating $239 million in profits in a single year. So to put yourself in a position to profit from the next big trend, ask yourself, where is everyone going and why? Because the answer will reveal the next huge opportunity. However, there's another group of people out there who do the exact opposite of this. They try to capitalize on the decline of industries rather than the rise of new ones. Warren Buffett is the master of this strategy. He says, "The chain of human events is forged in the fires of adversity." Take railroads, for example. When Buffett started investing, railroads were the main form of transportation across America, but automobiles were starting to get popular. So, he invested in car companies like Geico. Then in the 1980s, personal computers started becoming mainstream. So, he invested in IBM. Then the internet revolution happened, so he invested in Dell and Apple. And each time he profited from the rise of a new technology. However, the key to understanding Buffett's investment strategy is that he doesn't try to ride the initial wave of any new industry. Instead, he waits for the market to overreact to good news. Then he finds a company that will benefit from the aftermath and buys shares of that company. Take airlines, for example. Everyone was super excited about the aviation industry. So airlines were getting absurd valuations, but Buffett knew that competition would eventually drive down prices. So he shorted the airline industry and ended up making millions of dollars in the process. So if you want to make the most amount of money possible, here's what you need to remember. Don't be afraid to go against the crowd. And now the fourth thing you need to know is that these people have a very different relationship with risk. Now, most people view risk as something that needs to be avoided at all costs. But the wealthy have a completely different outlook on it. They view risk as a way to compound your wealth. Let me explain. Imagine you have $1,000 and you invest it into a company at a 50% chance of earning 50% return and a 50% chance of losing 50%. Most people will avoid that investment because the potential loss outweighs the potential gain. But if you're an investor, you look at it from a different angle. You see that if you're right about the company, then your $1,000 becomes $1,500. And if you're wrong, then you lose all of your money. But if you have the confidence to invest $1 million at the same odds, then your $1,000 investment would be worth $15 million. And that's the power of leverage. Buffett understands this very well. He once said, "The first rule of investing is to protect yourself from ruin." If you have to choose between doing something that is probably right and doing something that is definitely right, choose definitely right. In other words, if the potential downside is big enough, don't take the risk. But if the potential upside is big enough, then you should. Finally, the last thing you need to know about these people is that they are always learning. You see, the truth is that no one actually knows what's gonna happen in the future. But these people have a process that allows them to make the best possible guess. For example, when Elon Musk was acquiring Twitter, many people criticized him for paying too much. But Elon didn't care. He was willing to overpay if it meant that he could buy the platform and use it as an accelerant to his master plan. You see, Elon wasn't interested in running Twitter as a profitable business. Instead, he wanted to use it as an accelerant to the future. He wanted to use it as a platform to build a super app called X, which would offer everything from social media to instant messaging to payment services. And while that might be a pipe dream for some people, Elon sees it as a real possibility. And that's because he spends countless hours reading research papers and talking to experts in artificial intelligence. In fact, he recently said, "I've been diving deep into the source code and the algorithms of X over the past weeks, and it's a lot of work. A non-trivial amount of effort has gone into tweaking the algorithms to increase the time spent on site per user. And that's how you make better predictions. You spend hundreds and sometimes thousands of hours researching and learning about a topic, then you make your best guess. Sometimes you'll be right and sometimes you'll be wrong, but over time your track record will improve." So in summary, here's exactly what the mindset of the rich looks like. First, they are always prepared. They identify the biggest trends early and invest accordingly. Second, they are constantly looking for trends. They find the areas where there's the most demand and invest there. Third, they have a different relationship with risk. They leverage their investments to maximize returns without putting their entire net worth on the line. And finally, they are always learning. They spend countless hours studying a subject to make the best prediction possible. So if you want to make better financial decisions, adopt these 4 mindsets. And if you enjoyed this video and want to learn how I became the youngest person ever to hit 500,000 subscribers, then check out this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.